We really had a relationship with the team, which again, people are switching in and out pretty constantly. So you're introducing yourself, catching people up to speed, introducing them to Sage, trying to make these bonds very quickly, and in some ways they naturally do in that environment. But we found ourselves sort of needing to prove our understanding of these very complex situations, and also asking questions that promoted the intercommunication between different members of the teams, which doesn't automatically happen, as I think most people probably assume.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing different information from different team members, they're viewing it from a different lens, and there's value in all of that. But if you're hearing different information, you do have the ability, and you need to take it to facilitate those people getting together, explaining, why are you saying this and you're saying that? What does it actually mean? How do all of these things affect Sage in a total sense? So we definitely had extensive talks with many, many people before these procedures. And they were risky. I mean, all of the procedures, there was a high chance that Sage was not going to come back.
I think the thing is, though, we knew objectively how dangerous the surgeries were. We knew, you look at his MRI scans, and it's shocking. So we knew how bad the situation was, but we were never going to not opt for surgery. Like, we were going to do everything we could. As long as that was an option that could make him better, you know what I mean, that could get him further, we absolutely opted for it. The thing that I think that was really difficult was we had planned out so after his first embolization, the next one was scheduled for 6 months out. And through a series of emergencies, it ended up that he had to have his second embolization less than a month later.
Mm-hmm.
And then that one, I think it was another month potentially, where he had to have this last kind of Hail Mary embolization, where these arteries, what came to light. So basically, he had to have these surgeries, these embolizations. Every time he was embolized, his team, Dr. Orbach and the neurointerventional radiologists at Children's, saw more arteries get activated. So the AVM was actually growing. AVMs it's a vascular system, but it's controlled by its own kind of hormonal signaling. So it grows much faster than his body was growing. And that's what exerted pressure on the brainstem, which they had never seen. And that's why it became so just kind of even more high risk and unpredictable. So the third embolization occurred because his brainstem was being impinged, it was being crushed. Sage's eye had turned inward, his eyes were bulging, he was in extreme distress. That was probably the hardest period of time for us as a family. So we opted for this extremely dangerous surgery. Dr. Orbach's counterpart, who's a neurosurgeon, had even said during the meeting that, he wouldn't have attempted it if it was his choice. So that Dr. Orbach was really kind of attempting something that he had never done before, that was new for the hospital. And actually the head of the NICU requested to go into the procedure to just kind of bear witness.
Right.
We had multiple meetings with, palliative care, with the NICU staff, with Dr. Orbach's team, with neurology, just having to kind of relay what we understood and give our approval with the understanding that he most likely would die during the intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So that was by far the most, I think, it was the most difficult, but at the same time, Eric and I didn't feel in that way that parents know that he was going to die. So there was this momentum, there was this momentous piece, and there was this incredible hope. And Dr. Orbach and his team were just as invested. It was something that was challenging. It was something unpredictable, but everyone loved Sage. He wasn't just a patient. He was this incredible, incredible child, and he was quirky and funny and sweet and alive. He was incredibly alive.
Well, we would have these glimpses after his procedures where he would recover at these incredible rates.
Yeah.
He would just wake up way ahead of schedule and be fully animated, and we would immediately see that he would have increased function in his arm, and he would be
he would hold the
tracking
bunny.
with his eyes and making sounds, and you would just look at him and be like, it was amazing. It really was.
Yeah,
and people were really gripped by that.
And, like, people, we would all come in just, and we'd see Sage, and everyone would laugh. I remember, many people on his team just being smitten.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to even, like,
Fathom
yeah, absolutely.
what was happening.
So no, I think that Eric and I, every decision that was made medically was absolutely necessary. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that is really difficult to articulate also is that of course we had the conversation about what would happen if Sage died multiple times throughout his life. And we're told multiple times that Sage was about to die. And, several times at the end of his life during seizure episodes, he did code. And it was horrific. And sometimes it would take hours.
Many, many times.
To get him back. And we lived through that, so we knew what it was. And when it was absolutely time, when Sage was physically no longer present in his body, the seizures were coming, we couldn't treat them. He was completely damaged, and his body had absolutely endured more than it should have. And I think that it was again, we just knew. You know what I mean? We knew.
Well, Sage let us know.
Totally.